You are welcome.
Hi guys, I'm Julie Barash. I'm the manager of education and content for Smashbox. I've been with the brand for about 10 years, so a long time. I have Aaron Tabor on the phone with me, who is going to also help at the end talk about the Spotlight event. And he is our field executive training manager. And Aaron, you've been with the brand for, gosh, 8 years, 7 years? 6 years?
Yes, I have.
Awesome. So,
Hey, Julie, we're still getting a lot of feedback.
Yeah, I hear that. Can you guys mute, please? I see a lot of you that still have not muted your phones. If you could please mute so everybody can hear.
And Julie, I think there's an option to mute on your end as well. I think you can mute everyone out. I think.
I can't. I just went to a minute. Let me see. You guys are all muted. The only problem with me doing that is then we're going to save questions to the very end, and I'll unmute at the very end. Sound good? But Aaron, I do want to unmute you. So hold on one second.
That's okay. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah. You did.
Perfect.
Okay, great. All right, guys, we're going to get started. Again, I'm Julie Barash, the manager of education and content for Smashbox. I've been with the brand for 10 years. I have Aaron Tabor on the line with me. He's going to help at the end of the call go over the Spotlight event, and he is your field executive training manager. This was a request really to set you guys up for success for the upcoming foundation animation at Sephora. So what we're going to be doing in the next hour is really taking you through key practices in a Sephora door during your BFD, giving you the knowledge of Smashbox, our Studio Skin foundation and primer, ways to link, and really ways to customize your BFDs depending on your audience. So really by the end, you're also going to see a demo by me, but at the end, you're going to feel more confident about the brand and really going and having a successful foundation BFD for the month of August and September. And then Aaron will go over the Spotlight events. So if you guys do have access to NALX, all the training materials are on there. So please take the time and review those training materials before you go into store. But basically, we wanted to just start with what is the foundation animation and what is Sephora's expectations. The foundation animation is going to start 8/9, and it will go through September 20th. And this is really to give their clients the ability to find the correct foundation and the correct shade. So we want to make sure that our casts are educated in the best way possible, so they're suggesting the right foundation for their client. So one thing Sephora is really concerned about is if you color match incorrectly, that's the #1 reason people return the item. But if you can get that perfect match with that perfect foundation formula to that client, they're going to be a return repeat client. So that's why it's really important to understand and know about the brand that you are representing. So that's why it's really important for us to have this webinar. We also want to make sure that when we are speaking to our client that we're asking lots of questions and make sure we're suggesting the foundation that's going to meet her needs and then tie it back. So at Sephora, they love to offer a tie back, or they love to teach their cast to use a tie back. Basically what that means is when you're engaging with a client, when you're asking those open-ended questions, you're keeping all that information they're giving you in the back of your head, so then you can tie it back at the end. For example, a client comes in, they say their skin is very dry. So you start your consultation, you talk about primer, you talk about foundation. At the very end, you're tying it back to their main concern, which their skin was dry. And so this is why I chose these products for you. And that's really gonna help you close the sale. And then also they just want to make sure that their cast know how to navigate the gondola, and really how to choose the right shade in your foundation category. So I'm going to give you some tips with that as well. So I can't ask questions. You guys are all muted. Never mind. We'll save the questions to the end, but let's get started. So anytime I start a Smashbox training, I always love to talk about the brand. I know that some of you guys are brand new to Smashbox, so I think it's really important that we're sharing that Smashbox love. Same thing exists when I go into stores. No matter what retailer, no matter who I'm speaking to, I always want to mention the unique point of difference of Smashbox. We are the only brand born out of a photo studio. What does that mean to your client? What does that mean to your cast member? Is that we create product that's going to last all day, that's going to enhance your natural beauty, that's going to look like skin, not look like makeup, that's really gonna stand up to our everyday life. If it can withhold in a photo studio, then it can work in everyday life. So we're for that 15-year-old that's watching Instagram, that's wanting that full coverage foundation, or we're for that 70-year-old woman that wants something easy, quick, that they can throw on and make sure that it's going to last when they go to work all the way through to the evening. So we're really for anyone, anywhere, and that's really who Smashbox is. So we really want to speak to that. I think one thing you can do is always ask questions. Tell me about your knowledge of Smashbox. I think when you're asking those questions and having them tell you about the brand, it gives them ownership and also sees where their level of knowledge with Smashbox is. So that's a great way to start it out. At Smashbox, you guys know that we're all known for our primers. We're the #1 primer brand in the United States. So we really do complexion well. Great skin is going to be a wonderful outcome for makeup that's going to last all day. So we start with primer, and then we really spend time on perfecting the skin with our complexion category. So our main focus for the foundation animation is going to be Studio Skin Hydrating Foundation. Now, I know that you guys have probably been in store and that you have seen the expansion of our shade range. What's really cool about this foundation is we just launched 18 new shades. So we have 40 shades to offer clients in a range from very fair to deep. So we really have a shade for everyone now. We also have made it really easy for a consumer to know which shade they are based on undertones. If you go on the new packaging, the new box, it will actually say fair, light, medium, dark, deep, and then it will give you your undertone. So it makes it really easy, so make sure to point that out to a cast member. Also, too, we have added some really unique, amazing benefits. We just retested this foundation to be 24-hour wear. So before it was 15-hour wear. The formula has not changed. We just said, hey, this formula is amazing. It's lasting for 15 hours. I bet if we tested for a full day, it would withstand all that heat, that humidity, that sweat. And so guess what? We tested it and it outperformed. So now we have that 24-hour claim on this foundation, which is amazing. Another great benefit that is new and exciting for cast members is that we reduced the price. So it went from $42 to $36. So it's a very competitive price with a high quality product. So that's gonna really help. So with this foundation, our Studio Skin Hydrating Foundation, it's hydrating but oil-free. So for all my skincare junkies out there, or if you're educating a cast member in skin, it hydrates with sodium hyaluronate. So that is a form of hyaluronic acid that binds moisture to your skin. Even though it's hydrating, it's oil-free. So not only is it going to give your skin that yummy creaminess, but it's also gonna help control oil in any areas. It is also sweat, humidity, and transfer resistant. It will not oxidize throughout the day. So even for your really oily clients that tend to oxidize foundation, this one will not. It stays color true. It won't settle into fine lines and pores. So this foundation is really packed with all amazing benefits that's great for your client. It's medium to full buildable coverage. Now, one thing Sephora is asking is that we really dissect and find what type of coverage and finish that a client is looking for. With this foundation, it is very adjustable, and it has a lot of great things you can do to manipulate it to work for that client. And I'll go over those key benefits when we go into the application. So just to review, Studio Skin Foundation, before we get into customization, it is a 24-hour hydrating foundation that is oil-free. It's sweat, transfer, and water resistant. It won't settle into fine lines and pores. It won't oxidize. It leaves your skin feeling super smooth, more like you're wearing nothing. When I apply this foundation to somebody, when I ask, how does it feel? They say, great. It feels like nothing. It is a long-wearing foundation that will never look cakey, that really moves with your skin and looks like skin. It doesn't look like foundation. And that's a huge, unique point of difference. Full coverage is in. We know how much cast members like full coverage and how much these influencers on Instagram love it. This gives you the benefit of a full coverage foundation without looking cakey. This gives you the benefits of full coverage foundation while lasting all day. It truly is a great product to share with everyone. Okay? It's so weird when people can't ask questions, just FYI. Anyways, all right, so moving on to really how are we going to customize this BFD for cast members?
Hey, Julie.
Yes.
They can ask questions. They just have to unmute themselves from the from their little box. And then there's also the chat box on the bottom too, that they can ask questions if they want.
Great. You guys, this is why I have my helper, Erin, on the call with me, because these are things I did not know. This is my first time actually hosting a webinar by myself. And I have, oh, hi, Erin. Erin just sent us a chat. So yes, if you guys didn't call in and you used the URL link, you can actually ask questions via the chat. Thank you, Erin, for pointing that out. And then if you did want to unmute and ask questions, you can individually do that. I'm so sorry I did not know. Thank you, Erin. Anything you want to add about the great benefits of Studio Skin while I have you on the line?
Oh, you were talking to me.
I was. Okay.
No, I think you've hit every point pretty good.
Okay, awesome. So when you guys are going in to do your BFD, it's really important that you go in with a positive attitude. You go in wanting to really share that Smashbox love and that 6 hours. So you guys go in, you make sure you're checking in, make sure you're grabbing everyone in color first. So grab those cast members in color, make sure you're educating them. Now remember, this is not a new foundation. This is a foundation that we just expanded the shade range and adjusted some of the claims. So you may get cast members that already know a lot about the foundation. That's okay, because when they tell you, it again gives them the sense of ownership, and it still makes for a very impactful BFD. Very impactful training. So let's talk about the differences and how we're really going to adjust based on who we're training. So if you guys have someone that is new to Sephora or maybe has never had a Smashbox training, you always again want to start with that Smashbox story. Hey guys, so glad I can train you today and introduce you to Smashbox. We are the only cosmetic brand born out of a famous photo studio, Dean and Davis Factor, great grandsons of Max Factor, started Smashbox Cosmetics in 1996 because there was such a high demand from photographers, makeup artists, celebrities that really wanted a cosmetic brand that would work in a photography setting. How that's going to relate to your clients is we're going to deliver high quality makeup that performs all day. It's going to look beautiful in front of the lens, but also in the natural daylight. It's color true, no matter what light you're in, we've got you because we've tested it in our studios and we make sure that it's going to be color consistent no matter where you are. Now, everybody's going to have their different version of the Smashbox story. Good news is you can go to NALX. You can watch all the brand heritage videos. You can read the Smashbox story, and you can really find your own verbiage for sharing that love. But I do like to give a little bit more detailed information when I am educating a new cast member. And then you can always ask a question. Tell me what you know about the brand. I bet you 9 out of 10 cast members, if they're new, will say, you guys make a primer, right? If you've heard of Smashbox, you've typically heard of Photo Finish. And so that's a great transition to say, yes, we are the primer authority. We have 11 different face primers depending on your skin type or concern. Let me show you quickly. You can just point to the gondola, and what's easy about our new primer restage is every primer tells you exactly what it is and who it's for. So reduce redness, smooth and blur, minimize pores. You can literally just point based on the questions and the answers that you're receiving from a client or cast. So when I am training somebody new, I always, no matter what my focus product is, I always like to do a brand overview and talk a little bit about primer because it is our #1 selling product. Then I will move into foundation. Now that I've briefly told you about our primer, I want to talk about perfecting that skin. Primer is that first step for making foundation go on smoother and last longer. And we have really hit the nail on the head with our newest shade extension of Studio Skin. You can go into the great benefits of Studio Skin, like I told you, and then you kind of can end the training there by asking retention questions. Okay, so tell me about Smashbox, okay? And then how do you apply primer? When do you apply primer? Give me 2 benefits of Studio Skin foundation. Great, okay? So you've just trained a new cast member. And then you can say to them, hey guys, is there anything on the gondola that has caught your eye that you want to be educated on? And then let them ask you some questions, and then you've just had a very successful BFD. And then I would also give them a little beauty challenge. I know this is a new foundation for you, so let's color match some clients together today. Okay, so really make it interactive. Make sure you're touching them throughout the day, not just that one time. I know we get busy, but move around, stage, go to the beauty studio, really interact with ColorCast so you can develop that relationship and continue to educate them with each interaction. Lead by example is my #1 piece of advice. Now, if you start to train somebody that's more elevated in color, or maybe somebody that already knows about Studio Skin, they may say, oh yeah, I love that foundation. I've been wearing it. Awesome. What do you love about it? Let them start telling you. You know, they may say, I love that it's long wearing, or I love that it lasts all day. Awesome. Yeah, we made sure that when we developed this foundation in our Smashbox studios, we wanted a product that would withstand high heat. So always kind of link it back to the studio with those advanced cast members, and then start to bring up, again, those key benefits and those changes, because they might not have noticed that it went from 15 to 24 hour. They might not have noticed that we reduced the price. They might not have noticed that we put the new undertone on the packaging. So make sure you're calling out that information with those seasoned cast members. And then you can go into more of an undertone story with those seasoned and advanced color cast. So just to kind of review undertone, I'm going to pause right there and kind of review undertone. This information is on NALX. So if for some reason you guys aren't finding it, please reach out to Summer and we will make sure that you guys have it. But basically, we want to make sure that we're giving the right foundation shade to the client. So we want to make sure that we're determining whether they're fair, light, medium, dark, or deep. Once you've determined that, then you want to discover undertone. Now, undertone will never change. It's your skin's underlying hue. So even if you're out in the sun a lot, your undertone won't change. So we have warm, cool, neutral, and then with Studio Skin Foundation, we also call out a warm peach / gold. So those are the 4 undertones we're really looking at when we look at our shade lineup. So kind of just to quickly review, if you guys aren't familiar with undertone, warm undertones are hints of yellow and gold. Your veins on the back of your wrist, I know it's hard to see, are more of a green olive shade, and warm undertones normally tan easily. Now, cool undertones are normally pink and blue. Their veins are more blue and purple, and they typically burn. Now, if you're neutral, you're kind of a combination of both of those. You're a mix of warm and cool. Your veins are really kind of hard to tell. Sometimes they look blue, sometimes they look green, and then you burn, then tan. Now, the fourth one that you may not be common with is the warm peach / gold. Those are really tones of peach and gold. Your veins are still that typical green and olive, and then you do tan easily. So those are the four kind of undertones. So when you're talking to a client, make sure that you can speak to that and you can help them determine their undertone. Another good kind of easy tip is you can ask them what type of jewelry looks best on them. If silver jewelry looks best on them, they're typically a cooler undertone. If gold looks best, they're typically warm. And if they say, oh my gosh, I wear both because I think both looks great, they're typically a neutral. So that's another easy way to figure that out. Any questions on undertone? No, we feel good? Okay, so for an advanced cast member or seasoned cast member, that's kind of fun to start playing with undertone. Now, if you get someone that's been around for like 5 years, they're superstars, they're great makeup artists, and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna elevate this training with StudioScan? They already use the product, they already love the product, what can I do? Again, start to ask them questions, let them tell you about it, let them tell you their favorite application tip, but then you can also kind of go deeper with the undertone story. You can say, hey guys, did you know that most foundations are made with 3 primary colors? Red, blue, and yellow? Primarily red, a mix of blue, a mix of yellow, and guess what? You get brown. And they're gonna be like, oh, that's really cool. And then do you know how you can flex the shade? You add white. The more white you add, the lighter it gets all the way to fair. The more black you add, the darker it gets all the way to deep. Okay, you're starting to really intrigue them. You're starting to really tell that kind of color theory story when it comes to developing a foundation. And then you can talk about really how we tweak the foundations once we make that base shade. So we make that base shade with those 3 primary colors. We make it fair, we make it deep, depending on if we add white or black, right? So we're creating that grayscale to determine shade. And then we can make it warmer by adding more yellow. We can make it cooler by adding more blue. We can make it warm peach by adding more of the yellow and red. And then we can make it more neutral by adding a combination of blue and yellow. Cool? Okay, so I know that's a lot of information. It's kind of hard to see without a visual, and for some reason I couldn't share my screen. But again, this should be on NALX, and it printed black and white at the store, but it's a very easy visual that will help you learn the undertone story really well and help you educate that. And you can take this and store with you as a guide when you're working with cast members. So don't feel obligated to memorize this whole sheet. You can just share it with a cast member, lay it down on the beauty studio and talk to that advanced cast member about how a foundation is made. Honestly, these are the cool things, the background information that they'd love to hear, and that's gonna help elevate your score by adjusting those BFDs based on your audience. So just to recap BFDs and customization, make sure that you are determining if they've ever had a Smashbox training. Now, that's not something you would do to be, sorry, I'm getting a phone call at the same time. It's not something you would say, hey, are you brand new? It's just, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Julie. How long have you been with Sephora? Are you in color? Awesome. Have you ever had a Smashbox training? Those type of questions are how you are going to determine kind of their level. Also, asking them questions will help you determine their level too. If you say, tell me about Smashbox, and they can't tell you anything about the brand, they're probably a newbie, and you probably want to go into that brand story a little bit with, you should go into that brand story with more detail. If they say, oh my gosh, I love Smashbox, blah, 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 and tell you every great benefit about the brand, then they're probably advanced or more seasoned, okay? So those are just some little tips to really determine who you're training and how to adjust based on who they are. Don't forget to ask them what caught their eye, or if there's any product that's kind of confusing to them, or if there's any product that maybe they don't typically sell, then that's something extra that you can educate them on, because that's something that we want to always do when we're doing BFDs, is train on our focus product and then train on a cast choice. When you're doing these BFDs, you want to make sure you're hitting your world first. So that would be color, and then you're expanding outside of just color, and you're going to the cash wrap, you're going to skin, you're going to fragrance. You're really sharing that Smashbox love throughout the whole department. And don't feel like you can't go up to cash wrap when they have a break and bring the product with you and give them quick education tips for adding on at the cash wrap, okay? Super easy to do that. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is talk to you about our application. At Smashbox, we have a really unique application story. We work in sheer layers. We enhance, not mask. It's really about applying foundation where you need it. However, if somebody comes in, they want full coverage from here to here, they wanna look like that influencer, can we deliver that to them? Yes. But in a photo studio, because of the technology of camera and film, we don't really pack on makeup because you'd be able to see everything through that lens. Our product delivers exactly what it says it's gonna do in sheer amounts. You don't need to use a lot. So with that being said, I'm going to do a demo on myself, and I'm gonna get really close and probably really ugly to this camera. But I'm just gonna take a makeup wipe, and I'm gonna show you how easy it is to color match and apply this foundation with some simple techniques. So I'm just removing my foundation. You may wonder why I'm removing my whole cheek. At Smashbox, we like to color match right here on the cheek. The reason being is because that's where you have the most discoloration. I know a lot of brands in the past you might have learned from love to color match on the jawline or even the neck or décolleté. We do it on the cheek, again, because we really want to focus coverage where we need it, and most people need it in this area called the little triangle. So I'm gonna just quickly remove my whole cheek. Erin, how's the lighting here? Does somebody want to unmute and tell me if it's okay if you're watching the video? Even if you're not watching the video, no fear, I will walk you through the steps verbally. So what I did is I just removed my foundation. Now, if a client wants to remove their whole face, that's awesome. If they just want to color match, shade match, that's fine. Remove half the face. Sometimes I even like that because they can really compare what they're currently wearing with what you put on, or maybe they want to remove all of it and try a couple different formulas. That never discourages me because in the end, Smashbox always wins. So if they want to try another brand on one side, I'm happy to go get that for them so we can really compare, because bottom line is I want to provide that great customer service to that client, because I work for Smashbox. She's going to remember I work for Smashbox, and she's going to fall in love with that brand because I wasn't biased and I really gave her what she was asking for. So sometimes I will compare with another brand. So basically at this point, when you have somebody's foundation off, you can start the undertone story if you're working with an elevated cast member, or if you're even just working with a client. Hey, do you know your undertone? Do you like to be warmer? Do you like to be cooler? Those are all questions that I like to ask, because I live in Southern California and everybody likes to be warm here. We're on the beach. Everybody wants kind of that golden hue. Also, people may be cool with a red undertone, but they may want a warmer foundation to kind of counteract that. So I always love to have that conversation before I even go and grab the product, because that's going to ensure that I'm grabbing the right items, the right shades. So we'll kind of have the undertone story. I know it's hard to see my undertone. I kind of flex. I'm kind of a neutral undertone, but more on the warmer side, and I definitely like a warmer foundation. But at this point, if I'm removing my makeup, I'm not going to directly apply foundation without linking it to primer. So always, always, always link foundation to primer. They're BFFs, they go together. Even your focus, your education is on foundation. Foundation's gonna last longer and look better if we took that one added step and added a primer. So because I have dry skin and I do not have a moisturizer on, I'm gonna do primerizer. So I'm just gonna quickly apply that. And then based on my skin, I know that you guys can't speak, or if you want to kind of unmute and interact, that would make me happy too. Do you think I'm fair, light, medium, deep, or dark? Okay, so it's fine. I'll give you the answer. I am definitely light. And it is, I hope I don't look fair on this, but I'm definitely light. So I will just tell you guys, I typically am a 2.1. That was what I was wearing in the past. So if somebody comes in and they've worn Studio Skin in the past, it's always good habit, if they're coming to replenish, to say, yeah, sit down, let's make sure you have the right shade, because we do change based on the seasons, and we are in summertime. So her winter shade might be 2.1. And if you just replenish it and put it in her basket, she may get it home and be like, wow, this looks really light, and then she'll bring it back. So just take that extra minute to go ahead and sit her down and make sure that you rematch her. So at Smashbox, again, we like to shade match right on the cheek. I'm going to make pretty heavy stripes so you guys can see if you are on video. But what we do on the cheek, so if you guys aren't on video, it's basically right out from your nose, underneath your eye, right on your cheekbone. You're gonna make 3 stripes. I like to stripe the color that I think she is. You can do this with a finger, you can do it with a concealer brush, but I'll make a stripe where that first initial stripe of what I think she is, and then I'll typically do a shade lighter or a shade darker. So right there, that's 2.1. What are you guys thinking? How do you like that? Everybody's still on mute, which is fine. See, I like to ask a lot of questions too. I don't like to be the one always talking. But basically 2.1 is a warm peach undertone. And now that we have new shades, I'm kind of intrigued. I want to see what something different will look like on me. So I'm going to go to shade 2, which is just strictly a warm undertone. It doesn't have that peach. And then I'm going to go 2.12, which is actually neutral. So I will tell you guys, you can determine undertone. Make sure you're staying within that undertone. Is it okay to flex between warm and neutral if somebody tends to be neutral? Absolutely. So what I do for everybody on the phone is I make those 3 stripes, right? And then that's when my conversation with my client happens. And it's really, I'm really blown out right now, so it's really hard for me to see, but I'll kind of touch the product with my skin and I'll say, now this one's a perfect match because it's blending into your skin. The one above it is a little bit warmer, so if you like to be a little bit more gold, we could go that route. This one's way too dark. That's kind of how I'll kind of talk with my client to determine, but I always give her a mirror and I always make sure that she has a say in it, so we get her buy-in, so she's walking out that door with the correct shade. So once I determine which one that I want to use, and again, it's really hard for me to see, so Erin, can you tell me which one you like? 1, 2, or 3? The middle, awesome. He likes the middle color, which is a 2. So I'm going to try that. So what I'll typically do is, because I already have primer in and I made these stripes kind of big, I'll just kind of tissue them off and I'll go on with 2.1. Now, I told you this foundation is very multitasking. So there's a lot of things you can do with it depending on your tool and depending on your primer. So if you did want to share this foundation out and make it more of a hydrating, lightweight foundation, you can mix it with primer oil. I just put a drop of foundation on the back of my hand with 1 to 2 drops of primer oil, mix it in, shear it on the skin, and it gives me more of a lightweight coverage, but with all those amazing benefits of a long-wearing foundation. If you just wanted to do it directly on top of primer, that's great too. Depending on your tool will determine whether you have a medium to full coverage. And I know we do not carry our tools at Sephora, but just to let you know, the stiffer, the denser the brush, the more coverage you will get. The fluffier the brush, the softer the brush, the more sheer you will get. You can also apply it with your hands. So for sake of being quick and doing just a really quick demo, because I know some of you guys are on the phone, I'm gonna do my 2 drops of primer oil with my 1 drop of foundation. Typically 1 drop will do the entire face. The trick with applying Studio Skin foundation, you wanna start at the center of the face where we have the most discoloration, and you wanna work in quick little strokes. You can buff it on with a domed brush, or you can use a flat foundation brush like I am and kind of press it on. The more you press, the more it will build. Now, the one good thing about this foundation is that it really does a great job of blending for you. At Smashbox, we're not huge on dragging that foundation all the way down the neck unless a client is requesting that coverage. So that's why we start at the center and work our way down and out. Now, one question I get with this foundation is, can I put a dot on my cheeks, a dot on my forehead, a dot on my nose and chin, and then start buffing? The answer is no. It's a long-wearing foundation. So please work in sheer layers and small sections. So start on one cheek, then go to the next cheek, go to the nose, go to the forehead, then go to the chin. Work in different sections so that foundation doesn't dry, so it really stays creamy and it really is blendable. Also too, I like to do a sheer wash first, and then I'll say, how do you like that coverage? Then we can really adjust based on what they're seeing in the mirror. Do they want a little bit more coverage in their cheek? Great, I can add it there. That way you're always giving them less is more, and you're not packing that foundation on. You're really customizing it based on where she likes the finish. Also, I didn't mention it, Beauty Blender, beautiful. This product goes on beautiful with the Beauty Blender. You can even dampen it with a little primer water to, again, kind of sell that primer in there, and then apply the foundation. Okay? So when you're training Studio Skin foundation, we want to talk about those key benefits and how great it is. We want to talk about that new shade range, really mentioning undertones and the point of difference on the packaging. To those advanced cast members, we can go into more detail with the undertones. Just to let you know, again, the information's on NALX. We also have a undertone sheet that will help tell you which undertone it is and kind of the description. If you guys don't have the sheet, again, look for it on there as well. Those are things that are great to print out and bring in store with you as guides to help elevate your training. I'm the type of trainer that I will totally admit if I don't know something, so I love to have all my information with me. So if they ask a certain question, I can say, I don't know, let's see. And I can refer back to my handouts, okay? I know that was a lot of information in a short amount of time, and I'm not sure if you're on video, if you can see, but just remember, key benefits, adjusting it to your audience. When you're color matching, do it in the cheek, 3 stripes, the color you think she is, the shade above it, and the shade below it, sorry, and really help to determine the right shade, the right formula, the right tool to use in order to make that client and that cast member fall in love with such a remarkable formula. Erin just asked a question. How important is it to color match over primer? I don't, Erin may have a different philosophy. To me, I like to color match over primer because color's truer. Over primer, that's one great benefit of wearing a primer is color is going to be truer, last longer. So I always do my primer first, then color match. I feel like it also just goes on smoother and looks better when you're color matching. So I always recommend doing it over top of primer. Erin, is there anything else you wanted to add with that?
No, you might have answered that question, but I got disconnected for a hot second.
Okay, I just said it's because color's truer if you do it over top of primer. It's going to go on smoother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, did you show us the sponge demo?
I did not. So you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I'm at the freestanding store and they're out of sponges. So I can verbally share it with you, or we can take a little video and email it to you guys. What do you think's best, Erin? Are you in store? You don't have video access.
I think we could just show them. We can send them a pic, which we could upload into NALX.
Yes.
I mean, it's a pretty, I was able to explain it to Leslie last week, and I know that she went into Discord just by story with me, just verbally explaining it to her, and she was able to do it.
Okay, great. So what Erin is talking, we were challenged with how do we really show how impactful a primer is? Why does somebody really need to wear a primer? It's an extra step. It's an extra cost. I'm good. My foundation will wear great without it. It won't. It is honestly that 15-second step that will change the way your foundation wears. So what we have come up with as a brand is we take 2 of those white wedge sponges that are in store. You take a pea size of our Smooth and Blur primer and you apply it over one side of the sponge. Then you leave the other sponge blank with no primer. Then what you will do is you will take 2 pumps of a Studio Skin foundation, 2 equal size pumps of a Studio Skin foundation. So you see I have 1 pump and then another pump. I will take my finger, I will apply 1 pump over primer, and then I will apply 1 pump of that foundation over the sponge without primer. Instantly, what you will see is how the sponge with primer allows the makeup to glide on. It looks smoother. You use less product, colors truer. On the sponge without primer, the foundation instantly absorbs into the sponge, which looks like pores. It grabs all the product. So you can see that you're basically wasting your foundation if you're not using a primer. And the color is darker, it's not truer. So I challenge you guys to all go in store, grab 2 makeup sponges, and try this. And if you have any questions, we'll take a video or a picture and we'll upload it to NALX so you guys can reference it. But it's one of those things, if you do this for a cast member, even for a client, they will be a primer client for life because it's that impactful. Okay, so I'm gonna take a minute to see if anybody has any questions. You can unmute or you can type it in the chat box.
Does anybody have any questions?
No? Okay, I feel like I just talked for a long time. So what I want to leave you guys with before Erin gets into the spotlight event is that as a brand, we have very impactful trainings, and it's because we pride ourselves into giving you guys the knowledge to go into the store and really share that Smashbox love and lead by example. So go in with that positive attitude, do your research, study your information, share that Smashbox love, but adjust your trainings based on your audience. That's my biggest advice. You don't want to give the same training to every single person. It won't make your day fun. You'll burn out. So really adjust based on your audience, interact with everybody in store, ask those retention questions, and really have an impactful day.
Hey, Julie, Carla has a question via chat.
Hi, Carla. Will the new shades be added into Sephora's color match tool? Yes, they are. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's launching in September. Good question. Okay. Aaron, do you want to talk about Spotlight?
Yeah, let's talk about Spotlight.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Carla, since you just sent a message via chat, do you mind responding if you can hear me? Carla Hawks.
I can hear you.
You can. I just want to make sure everybody else, because everybody's so quiet. Okay. Well, let's hope everybody can hear me.
Can you start a video, Aaron? I'm sorry. Can you go? Oh,
Hey.
hi.
Hi, everybody. How are you? Oh, perfect. Thank you, Carla. Hey, hello. Hey, everybody. So the Spotlight events, there's been a lot of questions regarding spotlights. For those of you who have been responding via chat, have you received a spotlight, or are you going to be receiving a spotlight?
They all know what a spotlight is. Yes, I'll show you.
I believe so. I had a, yes, right there. Do you know if you're going to be receiving one of these or not? Anybody?
Well, it's better now. Only a few
FPs are. I got mine. Okay. All right. So whether you have a spotlight or not, there's a couple of different ways that you can do spotlight events. Spotlight events are essentially an animation that takes place in store. It's a low-level animation. It's one that we basically create excitement around photography with. So if you have the spotlight, you can use this as an animation tool, and you can set it up at whatever retailer you're at, and create a little area of animation. So we want to take pictures in front of the spotlight. If you have Facetune app or different editing apps on your phone, what we like to do is take photographs of our clients or ourselves, and then just kind of show them how to make the best possible selfies of themselves. So spotlights are, I mean, there's really not much I could say about this other than the fact that it's really kind of a low-level animation event where you're creating excitement in store. Typically, the goals for these events are very low, maybe a couple $1,000s, and it's just really a way to kind of like draw in excitement. Some of us have different ways of displaying these. Like when I'm working at a Macy's store, I'll make sure that my background doesn't have a lot of background noise to it so that it doesn't disrupt the photograph too much. But basically, we're just taking snapshots of ourselves and using Facetune apps to make it, kind of fun and exciting. What other questions do you have about spotlight events? Or Julie, can you ask me some questions to make it more
Well, I think it just really to relate to our brand story. It's how do we get that perfect picture? How do we get color consistency? Even though everybody's using all these apps to kind of adjust their images at Smashbox, you don't need to do that. So let's take your selfie first. Let me show you how good you're gonna look in this light, and then you can adjust with Facetune. It just is one of those conversation starters that help you link the brand to photography.
Right, and we use it for traffic stopping as well. So when we have the spotlight set up in the aisle or at Ulta or whichever retailer we might be at, the light itself really draws attention from the clients. So it allows us to open up a conversation about Smashbox and who we are as a brand. It draws curiosity and it gets them intrigued with who we are as a brand.
Do you guys have any questions?
If you're going to step and repeat background to elevate the event, that is in discussion. I've communicated with Summer in regards to that, so we'll see what she has to say about that. But in the meantime, it's really about finding the best backdrops for your spotlight. You can find really unique and cool areas of the stores or just the, wherever you might be to make it as interesting as possible. So really, it's all about animation. So Julie, that's that.
Thank you, Aaron. So before we get off, just because we have so many participants and you have Aaron and myself on the line, I want to open it up to any Smashbox related questions that you guys may have. I'll give it like a few seconds. If anybody wants to type anything or unmute, we're here for you right now. We have about 6 minutes until the call is supposed to end, so we are happy to take any questions that is Smashbox related. If you guys want to think about it, I will leave you with, I hope everybody is following Smashbox Cosmetics on social media. You will learn a lot of information about the brand there. Also follow Smashbox Studios on social media. That's when you'll get the inside information. For instance, they just posted images of Michelle Williams. She was at the studios shooting, and they're beautiful ads. So that type of information, again, is what you can take and store with you and help elevate your trainings by really speaking to that story and speaking about who's there, because people love that celebrity gossip. They love that information. So did you see that question, Aaron? The Spotlight event attachments do show floor stickers and step and repeat. So those are not for Sephora, just animation there. I think each retailer is different depending on what they're gonna allow you to take into store. Aaron, am I correct? I think he's on mute. Yes.
Mary, are you seeing this attachment in NALX? It sounds like there's something that was sent out in regards to Spotlight events specifically to Sephora, which shows floor stickers and step and repeat.
Yeah, I know what image they're talking about. Attached to the Zoom invite.
Oh, it was attached to the Zoom invite?
I didn't attach anything. There was attachments?
I can send it both of you. Yes, please do.
Thank you.
Mary.
You see it, Aaron, yet?
You know, I honestly can't say that I've ever done a Spotlight event at a Sephora. They've always been at Ulta's, Macy's, or Dillard's. And they're pretty open with the way that we set up Spotlight events in those stores. You know, they'll allow us to do it right up front, you know, where we're able to, you know, as they're walking into the store or somewhere around the gondola. I'm assuming Sephora probably has a more of a structure to it, but really it doesn't require a tremendous amount of space. I can send it both of you. Okay, so Mary just sent it. Let me take a look. Anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, do you guys have any other questions? I know people are jumping off. It's probably because we're getting close to the end time. So my Sephora did say that they would allow me to set up one on their back tables and use the Spotlight to create animation and focus. That's awesome. I think it's going to be a store-by-store basis for that. I think if they allow you to do it, do it.
Yeah, it's really about taking photographs and making people look just beautiful and make them feel good about themselves after they've gotten their photographs or after they got their makeup done.
Yep. Awesome. So you guys continue to ask a couple questions. I just kind of want to do a quick close so you guys can go on with the rest of your day. But basically this Sephora foundation animation, for Sephora, it's really important that we're asking those questions to a client to determine what kind of coverage, what kind of finish they're wanting. We're doing a color match. We're taking the time to do that so they're getting the right shade so we don't have returns. Foundation is very customized. People fall in love with their foundations, and it's a reason for them to come back. So make sure you are actively listening when you're asking those questions. Make sure you use that tie back. You're listening throughout your consultation, and you're able to tie back their concerns, tie back their needs with products that meet their needs, and then that you're really just setting them up for success when it comes to picking, again, the right shade. So we want to make sure that we're educating on our key benefits.
Okay, so Mary just sent me a couple of attachments, which is a pretty good outline of the Spotlight event. Mary, I need to confirm when these tools will be received, and it sounds like it's just for top Sephora doors. which is why you said only a couple of FEs are going to receive this. But whether the FEs have these tools or not, these animations can take place at all, at different levels. So it says during the consultation, the artist should demo the Smashbox products. With any 2-item purchase is when we get them in front of the ring light. We use personal assistants within store to use the smartphones to take photographs. After 15 to 20 selfie shots, the artist will help remove her phone and reminder to tag pics with Smashbox Spotlight for her chance to be featured on Smashbox event page Instagram. So basically what I was saying, but this is a great how-to. And Mary, if everybody's going to receive these attachments, it's an excellent outline of the event. And then I will confirm whether or not we are going to receive all these tools and who will receive them.
Awesome. Thank you. And Leslie, thank you. She just responded and said that she loved the sponge tip demo that she learned last week from Erin. So again, I challenge you guys to go and try that in store and let us know if you have any questions. And just FYI, if you guys ever do need me, I'm Julie. I'm using Karina's login for her Zoom meeting, but my name is Julie Barash. Wanted to talk about that. All right, guys, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We hope you learned a lot and that you'll go in with this foundation animation and have a huge success. We can't wait to hear about your feedback. Thank you.